Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. As you all know that we are currently reading unit number 3, Duty and Responsibility. In the previous lecture, lecture number 26, we did our reading section 3.2. Today I am going to discuss the poem If by Rudyard Kipling, that is reading section 3.3 with you people. As previously we have studied that in every unit we are going to have 2 prose and 1 poetry section. So this is our poem today that we are going to discuss under this unit. As previously done in other lectures, we have so far spoken about what is poem. I have already explained the parts of poem, the structure of poem. But today I just want you to reflect back what is poem. So a poem is a collection of spoken or written words that expresses ideas or emotions in a powerfully vivid and imaginative style. A poem is comprised of a particular rhythmic and metrical pattern. In fact, it's a literary technique that is different from prose or ordinary speech, as it is either in metrical pattern or in free verse. So basically, just like the other like you can say types of literature, as prose, we are going to discuss prose, and then we have got novel, short story, essay, different types of prose we are going to have, fictional and non-fictional. Just like that, a poem is also part of a literary piece of writing that is going to have a different structure from that of the prose. So basically, what is the difference here? Sometimes it's going to be metrical pattern and sometimes it's going to be free verse. But the thing is, the language is quite different because the writer tries a lot to bring such words that can arouse the reader emotionally. The main function of a poem is to convey an idea or emotion in beautiful language. It paints a picture of what the poet feels about thing, person, idea, concept, or even an object. Poets grab the attention of the audience through the use of vivid imagery, emotional shades, figurative language, and other rhetorical devices. However, the supreme function of a poem is to transfer imagery and words into verse form to touch the heart and mind of the readers. So here, vivid imagery means that something that you can feel or something that you can imagine right in front of you. That is called vivid imagery. Basically, imagery is related to our 5 senses. When something that is portrayed is we can feel it, we can see it, we can touch it, we can hear it, that part of writing style is called as imagery. Basically, it is one of the figure of speeches that we are talking about. So here it's saying that the writer tries to use words that grab the attention of the reader in a way that the reader can feel as if the thing is going on right in front of him or her. So it's a way to use language beautifully, just to grab the readers, just to grab the attention of the readers. Now we will discuss about the poet who is the writer of this particular poem. Rudyard Kipling, 1865 to 1936, was born in Bombay, India. His father was the curator of the Lahore Museum. He went to school in England and returned to India as a journalist in 1882. He achieved rapid fame as a poet and short story writer in England. He was the first Englishman to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. His 2 Jungle books, 1894 and 1895, are set in Indian jungle, and Kim, a novel, is set in pre-partition Lahore. So basically, Rudyard Kipling was born in Bombay. Basically, he belongs to Bombay, India. Then for education he moved to England, and he became a popular writer in England also, because if you can see here, he was the first Englishman to receive Nobel Prize, means that he was there. That is why we are going to call him as Englishman. Now this is the poem that is given in your book on page number 109. The picture was not clear from the book, so that is why I have pasted this one. Let's just read it. If Rudyard Kipling, born December 30, 1865, died January 17, 1936. Okay. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not to be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with tyranny and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build em up worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart, nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lost the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minutes with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. So that's all about the poem. Now if you just look at the structure of the poem, you will see something very obvious. Here it is somehow repeating in these 4 lines, you, too. The sound is repeating. Then waiting, hating, lies, wise. After that, master, disaster, aim, same, spoke, spoken, broken, fools, tools, winning, beginnings, toss, loss, new, you, gone, on, virtue, you, touch, much, minute, it, run, sun. Now this is the structure. Let's now talk about the explanation. What is the explanation that we can give about the poem? So in the first line, if you see, if you can keep your head when all you are losing theirs. So here the writer, he is somehow, now this is a poem, if you just look at the end, it is my son. So it means that the father is now, he is guiding his son about something. And what is that thing? If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, blaming it on you. It means that, my dear son, if you are if you are winning something, if you are going to achieve something, or that achievement is all about you, or you are losing, means that you are not achieving anything, but you are losing something, and someone is blaming you for things that you have not done, for the things that are not by you, but something that that other person has done, and he or she is blaming you. Then if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, means that you should trust yourself, or it's a condition, because basically if is used for condition, that if you will do this thing, you will achieve this thing in future. If you will do this thing today, you are going to achieve something tomorrow. So if is basically used for condition. So here the father is somehow going to give condition to his son, and he is saying that if you will follow these conditions, then you are going to achieve things. So he is saying that if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, so means that you should trust yourself, and if you are going to do that, but make allowance for the doubting too. And if other people are not trusting you, even then let them not trust you, let them have their space to doubt you. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, which means if you are going to wait for something, if you are not going to rush into something, you will definitely achieve something, and you should not be tired of waiting or being lied about. Don't deal in lies. Means if someone is going to tell you any lie, or if someone is going to harm you by telling lies, you should not follow that path. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. Like if someone is hating you, or if you hate something, but try not to give space to this hating thing. And yet don't look too good nor talk too wise, which means that you should not be too much proud, you should not be too good, and you should be like a unique one. You should not be an extreme one. You should not be at extreme levels. You should not be too wise, you should not be too good, you should not be too bad, you should not be too stupid. And because if he acts upon all the advices the poet give about his son, will look too good and too wise among the common. If you are not going to follow up the things that I have mentioned, you will not be an extraordinary one. You will be the same that other peoples are doing. Okay, the second stanza, the poet says that he should dream big. If you can dream and not make dream your master. So he's saying that the poet says that he should dream big but never make the dreams his master. Similarly, he should think good about goal, future, etc., but never make thoughts his aim, because in order to succeed in life, one has to work hard. Now dreaming, mere dreaming, useless dreaming and thinking will never lead one to the path of success. Hence one should dream of goals and think of a better future at the same time, and should work hard to achieve them. So it's an advice, right? Now in the third line, the poet says that one should meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. Now here, triumph means victory and disaster is the opposite of the word like victory. So both of the words, they have been capitalized, and these are the two extremes of life. The poet calls them impostor as fake, that they neither make one extreme happy or miserable. However, they are not long lasting, and hence one should not take them seriously. Means that if you are achieving victory today, you should not celebrate it for forever, because it can change into disaster, it can change into failure tomorrow. Maybe that will happen. So we should not take things too seriously. And then the poet says that one should only speak the truth and should also have the courage to face it when it is misused by others to mislead others. Right? Now here he is going to talk about it. If you can bear to have the truth, you have spoken. Now if you are going to speak the truth about someone else, and if someone is going to talk about your drawbacks, your failure, you should also have the courage to accept that. He should also have the courage to see the things built by him in broken condition and try rebuild them with worn out tools, that is with what energy or skill you have. Like for example, if you are trying to achieve something, if you are trying to achieve your goals, and if on that path you have somehow worn out yourself, you should not be discouraged. You should be encouraged that I was trying for something, I was trying to achieve something, and then in that path somehow I worn out myself. I should not be discouraged, I should be encouraged because I am trying, I am struggling. Okay, then stanza 3. The poet says that one should make one heap of all. The achievement of one has made that, and then take big risk. In other words, one should never be afraid of doing things that can either make one successful or ruin everything. That pitch and loss means that you are going to, if you have the courage, you should face risk. You should take risk in your life, because that risk will either lead you towards the success, or it is going to teach you something if you are going to lose it. If one fails after taking big risk, he should start again from the beginning without thinking or saying anything about the loss of others. One should try again and again until one succeeds. Now again in the 5th line, the poet says that one should use his heart, right, and never end new. That is courage when one becomes tired or fails. When nothing is left in life, one should have strong willpower which may encourage one to hold on. It means that you should basically have the courage to face failures, you should have the courage to move on, you should have the courage to hold on your energies, because failure, losing, unsuccessful, these words are part of our life, these are reality of our life. So it's a very beautiful poem, because we all at some stage of our life we give up, that I cannot do this thing further anymore, I cannot carry out this thing any further. So this should not happen. We should always try our level best to achieve things, and if it is not occurring, we should not be discouraged, we should try and try again. Okay, the last stanza, the poet says that while among the common people one must keep his virtue and never behave like them. Virtue means that you should keep the good thing in you, and one should never have pride and ego. In other words, the poet is saying that when one is poor, he should keep his virtues, and when he becomes rich, he should never go ego. Which means, if today you are not going to have anything, you should not feel discouraged, you should not lose the humanity that is in you, you should not sell out it for something good. And if tomorrow you are going to be rich, you should not feel proud of yourself, because in the previous stanza he said that pitch and loss, Like life is a twist. If today you are a loser, tomorrow you are going to win. Then it may happen that in future you will also lose and win. And this is a, you can say that the two faces of one coin that are going to turn again and again. People will often remain dependent on him, but he should never allow them to remain completely dependent on him. The poet may also be saying that one should never give other too much importance, or else he will get emotionally attached to them, which will hurt him in future. And if we just remove the people, like the word people from here, and we just take it to the profession, it happens that we all dream about becoming doctor, engineer, teacher, or something else. Nowadays CSS is one of the common dream of every third person. So we should not attach our emotions to those things, because maybe we will achieve them and maybe we will not achieve them. So it happens. So the poet, basically the father, he is advising his son that you should not attach your heart with anything so emotionally in depth, that maybe if you are not going to achieve it, maybe if you are not going to have it, it will hurt you a lot. In the next line, the poet talks about the importance of time. According to him, time is precious and will never come back. Hence, one should start utilizing each and every second of life. And then in the final lines, the poet tells his son, if his son, acts upon all the advice he gave above, he will be able to achieve whatever he likes, and he will be a man that is a true human. Okay. Now this is the summary and explanation of the poem. The poem, if the writer in this poem is going to give the ultimate impression that tells us how to deal with different situations in life. The poet conveys his ideas about how to win this life, and after all, how to be a good human being. So we have read all the if conditions, and yes. The poem, written in 1895 and published in the Rivers and Fairies, 1910. It was published in 1910, and it is 32 lines long with 4 stanzas of 8 lines each. It's a tribute to Leander Starr Jameson. The poem is written in the form of parental advice to the poet's son John. Okay. The poem basically tells us the condition that we should meet to succeed in life and make the life happy and a beautiful one. And the whole poem is written in a single complex sentence. So all the subordinate clause begin with if, and the main clause concluding the entire theme comes at the end, and the poem ends with a full stop. Now if you just look at the structure, there is no full stop. There are other punctuations like comma, semicolon, and you can say quotation marks. Then you are going to have most of the lines, they are going to have semicolon, colon, and comma. So it basically, it's saying that if you just write this poem in a sentence structure, in a line form, it is going to be one entire complex sentence that is going to have other subordinating clause. I guess you might know about clauses, that there are 2 types of clauses, subordinating clause and main clause. So it is going to say that this is a complex sentence that is going to have subordinate clause. This structure of the poem was important to achieve the conditional goal. The poet speaks of the achievement at the end after discussing all the requirements to reach that. This structure is actually symbolic in suggesting that you can get the rewards only after you have fulfilled the preconditions. Moreover, this makes the reader eager to know what would happen when we meet all the conditions, thus retaining the curiosity and interest till the end. The main theme of the poem is a combination of so many ifs, and the title ifs is an apt one for the poem. Now it's just simply saying that it's a type of advice, and you normally have seen that when your parents, your elder ones, they are going to advise you. They used to tell you conditions that अगर आपने ये किया तो आपका ये होगा, अगर आपने ये काम किया तो आप इसको ऐसे अचीव करोगे. So that अगर if that condition maintains the curiosity of the poem, the beauty of the poem, that if we will do that, all the ifs, what will happen? So the poet basically tries to maintain the interest of the poem, and he gives at the end that if you are going to achieve all these conditions, you are going to be a perfect human being. Now the form and structure of the poem. Rudyard Kipling separates his poem in 4 stanzas of equal length, all of which contain 8 lines, as we have studied it. Each stanza has a set rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, with the exception of the first stanza, which has the following rhyme scheme: A, 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 B, C, B, C, as I have already highlighted it during the reading. In terms of meter, the poem is written in iambic pentameter with 5 beats consisting of an unstressed and then a stressed syllable. So basically, when you are going to read it, like you are going to say this is stressed, this is unstressed, or this is unstressed and then stressed, it is going to be 1 foot. And if they are going to be 5, we are going to call it as iambic pentameter. The speaker of the poem, presumably Kipling, keeps a positive and upbeat tone throughout the work, informing the reader what he or she needs to do in order to be a successful person. So if you are talking about the tone is a very positive, optimistic tone that the poem maintains. Kipling makes this a very personal poem by using the use of pronoun you. In fact, one could even interpret that the poem Kipling talking to himself or giving himself a pep talk. So basically, he is trying to make it personalized, because as we have already discussed that it's an advice from the father to his son. Okay, this is from your book. Now let's try to figure out how it is explained in your book. Okay. The first stanza talks about keeping one's sanity in the humdrum of human relationships, blaming, doubting, self-trust, waiting, lying and hating, etc. For example, we all in our normal life, we on daily basis see these things, that one is blaming the other, one is doubting the other. A person who is having a low self-esteem, low self-stress, we all keep waiting for something, and we all keep lying for something. So he's saying that the first stanza is talking about the human relationship, human nature. The second stanza warns against obsession with one's dream and thoughts, success, failures, advise one to have the courage to accept the bad truth. Okay, this is about how you should be ready for the failures, successes in your life, and also you should not be too much attached with your dreams and thoughts, but you must have one single goal or aim in your life, so that you will struggle for it to achieve it. The third stanza is about bearing one's loss bravely and having one's willpower to do the work when there is nothing in one. Like, it's about how you should regain your energy. The last stanza is about not losing touch with oneself, whether one is in the company of king or lady, friends or foes, not very many exceptions from anyone. Like, it should be we should face reality that whether we are standing with powerful people or whether we are going to stand with useless people, it doesn't matter. We have to move on to achieve things in our life. Okay. The poet lists many qualities of maturity when he believes make certain adults superior to others. Select those characters that you feel are the most important and explain why do you feel to do that thing. So it's basically we are now trying to look at the explanation again. like the poem that is saying that the poet has listed many things that like an adult should have. So it is saying that what are the things that an adult should have. We have to like explain them, we have to read out them, so we have to highlight them. If we just look at the poem, there are things, the advices. We can say that the person is saying that we should have self-trust, we should face failure, we should not be lying, we should accept the doubt that people are having on us, and we should face the reality of life, that if someone doesn't like us, we should face it. And the importance of it is that if we are not going to face these things, we won't be able to move on in life. So if you are going to have victory today, you should not feel proud on it, because maybe if you will feel proud on it, you will lose the company that you are having. Maybe people will start hating you. So you should not be at extremes. You should have that exception in your life to both celebrate and achieve and then face the failure. Okay, the poet believes that these values must be understood by all young people who wish to become truly adult. Yes, it's a very normal thing that if we want to be successful in life, basically I would like to say that don't be too proud on your achievements, but you must be ready to face failure. This is the only thing that will lead you towards success, because success is something very common. Because if you are going to be successful, you know that you are positive about your life, but failure is something that will never let you be positive. So be positive about your failure, not about your success. So yes, the poet is very right that we should be ready for any exceptional case in our life. Okay, this is an assignment for you people. Now that you have understood the poem, write a paraphrase explanation of your own words. You may title as characteristics of a mature adult, that has already discussed in the previous question. Okay, use the following chart to record your statement of the meaning of the poem and your observation about the techniques of the poem. Each column in the chart deals with one of the poetic techniques, and the chart is given on page number 111, and it's basically about the how many couplets are there, how many octave are there, who is the speaker, it's either human being or man, woman, mother, father, young. It's a very clear chart, you will see that. And just okay, fine, if you're not going to do this part, but do this part, because it's like an essay that you are going to write the characteristics of a mature adult, and you are going to take hint from the poem looking at the chart. Thank you so much. That is the end of your unit 3. I hope it is clear to all of you. Thank you.